But something happens to where the Johns discover something about this person, don't like what they discover, and decide to start beating up on this person. This person starts to fight back in self-defense, but pulls out their firearm, and pop, 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 the Johns are now dead.
Comic Indie Podcast theme song.
It's a podcast for comic books. What else? Welcome to Comic Indie Podcast. My name is Kenneth Javier, and today the book that we will be breaking down is The United States of Hysteria, published by Image, written and drawn by Howard Chaykin, not stirred. That joke is not mine, but all credit goes to friend of the show Brian at Nan's Games and Comics, colorist Jesus Albatroff, cover colorist Will Quintana, and letterer Ken Brusniak. So what more can I say about The United States of Hysteria except, oh my gosh. That's right, oh my gosh. Not oh my god, oh my gosh. This is a handful of a book and a page turner. So let's turn the cover page and jump straight into The United States of Hysteria. The book opens up in Washington, D.C. The newly elected president and the majority of their cabinet members have been assassinated. That's right, a new president has been assassinated. Most of the cabinet members, which I'm assuming is the vice president and everybody and anybody who falls underneath there, dead. And now the United States is in shambles. They were assassinated in a failed coup d'etat attempt. And again, had it been a successful one, that government would have just been toppled and the United States would just be in pieces. But they're kind of half running. The government is still there. There is a character by the name of Frank Villa, or if he's Hispanic, it could be Frank Villa. And he basically is heading an investigation by the CIA or the National Intelligence Association to find the terrorist, kill the terrorist, and bring America back to greatness again. So he is on the hunt. So Frank is seen here at the beginning talking to his wife. His wife is kind of fed up. His wife has 2 kids at home, Frank's kids, I'm assuming, just being total spoiled jerks and brats, and she is having none of it. She looks very irritated. She just wants Frank to come home and do his father duties, but he's all like, baby, I gotta save the United States. Because, there's all this hysteria going around. Everything's just been, shaken up, right? So while he's talking on the phone, trying to, reassure his wife that, baby, everything will be okay, he's actually telling his mistress in the hotel room, baby, everything's going to be okay in the shower. And we kind of end our scene there. So what's kind of interesting about this book is it kind of jumps back and forth between Frank's story of finding the terrorist and different events that are happening throughout the book. So when I talk about different events, specifically different killings that are happening, whether they be, intentional murders or self-defense, but, they have a story in Chicago where we have 2, I'm assuming based off of the art, African-American gentlemen sniping people out of the window, but they're just not sniping regular people. They're specifically targeting white people. So they are in a gunfight. The police or SWAT team breaks in, and that is kind of the end of their story. You're kind of wondering, what's the motive behind, the shootings and snipings. I know a lot of that's kind of happening in the news today, definitely with the temperature of kind of what's going on. Then you move to Las Vegas, where you have, the casino bar scene. You see, ladies of the night, picking up Johns and trying to make some extra money in the hotel room. But in this particular scene, you see a person of the night. I'm assuming ladyish, because she's very, curvy. But something happens to where the Johns discover something about this person, don't like what they discover, and decide to start beating up on this person. This person starts to fight back in self-defense, but pulls out their firearm, and pop, 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 the Johns are now dead. And now here come the police, and the police have arrested this person of the night. Then we move to Barbados, where we got a bunch of rich fat cats sitting drinking margaritas or cocktails, pina coladas maybe, and they look like they are investing their money with this suave, charismatic guy, basically just signing, I don't want to say their life away, but eventually their life does go away because he poisons all of them, and they're all dead, and he walks away with their money. And you know what? Police are going to find you. You do bad things, and they're going to arrest you. And then lastly, we go to the Bronx, where there is a new type of killer, not necessarily a serial killer, but an upgraded one, because he likes to keep it spicy. He likes to keep his killing random in different styles, and doesn't really like to stay in the same, killing mode. But like they say, loose lips sink ships, and he likes to talk a little too much. And knock, knock, knock on the door. Here comes the police, and now you, sir, the murderer, are arrested. So these stories are kind of peppered around back and forth between Frank trying to find terrorists and then the killings in the United States. So I don't know if they're going to be all related later on down the road, but let's kind of jump back into Frank's story. So Frank is chasing after a suspected radical by the name of Arif in Philly, and possibly this person may have something to have done with the failed coup d'etat. You see Arif looking like he's in some type of makeshift clinic. He is a medical student. He's working on a patient by the name of Erica. Her legs are all in stirrups, and he's all, digging in her hoo-ha. She's pregnant, by the way, and I guess doing gynecological type things. But something about Erica is, she is also a suspected radical as well. Now, they're not outright saying what their plot is or what they're doing, but, they're kind of speaking, in terms of, something big is going to happen, something big involving them, something as far as, hey, Erica, they'll least suspect you than they will me. So something is definitely happening, but, she's pregnant. I don't know if that's his baby, but there's something weird about this clinic. It's not quite... decorated as a normal clinic. I don't think this is like in the medical center. It looks like it's in a back alley and basically, graffiti on the wall or maybe some type of abandoned building. But Frank is leading a team of CIA operatives to hunt down Arif in Philly. He has a team of about 4 people who are, watching through TV screens and closed circuit cameras and guiding drones. And this is like one of those drone planes that you see in the Middle East, kind of just driving around, dropping bombs. So it looks like they're about to drop a bomb in Philly, looking for Arif and just trying to eliminate him or get him into custody. When they think they spot Arif, or what they suspect is Arif and Erica, come to find out it is a man driving a car that looks like Arif with a blow-up doll. So definitely some misdirection going on there. We then see Erica arriving in New York, and that's kind of where we end the book there. So definitely not anything happening down in Philly, what they suspected, but something possibly in New York without giving too much away, even though I feel like I might have already. So let's kind of dive a little bit deeper into the book, and let's talk about Frank. So Frank is a agent. Basically, he started from the bottom. Now he's here. He's a very educated guy. They talk about his education and how he was and how he just kind of worked his way up into this head CIA position. He is married. He's also cheating. His kids are brats. But it seems like he's trying to play both sides. But his mistress seems to be okay with that. His mistress actually looks like she works with him. As they are seen in the scene where he calls her sweetheart, but has to kind of correct the saying and calls her Rose. Very arrogant guy, very self-confident, very pissed and angry about what's happening in America and wanting to bring the terrorists to justice. Arif is a suspected radical. He is a medical student. I don't know if he's a part-time gynecologist, but he definitely is an extreme activist that's that has been identified by the United States, or more specifically by Frank. When he's talking to his pregnant girlfriend or friend, Erica, they're talking about how they're going to make history and how basically things are going to change after they do what they do. Story-wise, I really do enjoy this story because it really kind of has you going, what's happening next? I mean, I know specifically with, the climate of kind of things that are going on, America being the great country it is, it's kind of hard to see it, in a position to where, somebody takes a swing at it and it kind of almost toppled. I mean, they've been through, civil wars, world wars, economic depressions, pretty much anything, terrible, you name it, but America is resilient. However, in this world, by Chaykin, America is trying to build back to its resiliency, but definitely they've taken a huge blow with the president and his cabinet members being assassinated. So what is to happen next? who knows? All right, let's take them to school and let's give this book a grade. When we talk about the art, I definitely really do like this art. It's a very provocative book. Just it hits you right in the teeth at the front, and I don't mean in the teeth in a bad way, but you see, cover art of a woman with blue eyes wearing a burqa, but it's a burqa made out of the American flag. So I don't know if those really exist in real life. That would be really cool to see that, but I may not know enough about burqas or fabric types to know that this is appropriate. I don't think it is, but if it is appropriate or not appropriate, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. Again, there's a lot of killing. This book is very visceral. I would not recommend that you let your younger children view this book. Definitely 17 and up on this one here, or maybe 14 and up. I'm not really sure. Rated R movies do get pretty graphic, so I would consider this almost rated R type. But it's just very bloody, very visceral. You see headshots going on. You see slit necks. You see no necks because the head is all gone. You see blood everywhere. This is just a bloodbath of a book, and just very interesting. So if you're into that kind of thing, you kind of might want to watch this book or read this book. But definitely, I love the art. I love the drawing. A little bit about Chaykin. I didn't know anything about Chaykin or much about Chaykin until I, was recommended this book. But he's been in the game for well over 30, going to 40 years. Worked for pretty much every major publisher, whether it be Marvel, DC. And pretty much, very well established in the comic community. So art-wise, I'm going to go ahead and have to give this one an 8. Story-wise, really original story. I mean, it's very close to home. We just had an election here in the United States. No, I don't wish for anybody to be assassinated or killed, but, what if something like that were to happen? Would, the United States go nuts and crazy like it is in this story here? Definitely a page turner. I like that they have, the little vignettes or the little stories of the people murdering or killing and then getting arrested. Just kind of feeding to this story of, how crazy and nuts and hysteric this world is. So, very well done, Howard Chaykin, on having me turn these pages. So definitely going to go a 9 on this one. Originality, we're going to go and hit this originality with a 9 because, like I said, oh my gosh, this book just kind of hits very close to home, especially with the climate of kind of how the country is today. I'm not saying I stand one way or the other, but, definitely this is a very provocative book. This is a book that, will create conversation, dare I say, be very controversial in some eyes, but still a very interesting story. So when we take the grand average of this, we're looking at about an 8.66666, or let's just say the 8.6 is with a bunch of lines on it. So Divided States of Hysteria is definitely Comic Indie certified. So if you have not received your copy or gotten your copy, I recommend you go out and get it in the stores today, because most likely it will be sold out because it's just that good, just that provocative. So just a few more plugs before we leave the show. Want to give big thanks to all of the Comic Indie guys and the great work that they're doing, myself included, but I don't want to be saying that I'm doing a great job. That's just a humble brag, but got a lot of good projects going on. Of course, please check us out at comicindie.com, where you can find this podcast. Every Wednesday we upload a new one. Also, you can check out the new drawing show called Draw Fight. We actually just wrapped episode 3, and that will be out soon. Basically, if you don't know what Draw Fight is, it's 2 artists in a head-to-head drawing competition. They get 10 minutes to draw the suggestions that you, the YouTube audience, suggest. It can be pretty much anything and everything your wild, perverted minds can think of. I take that back, not perverted, because stop sending us perverted comments, because we're not going to draw them. We want to keep this family friendly, but we will draw them. It's fun, and you get to vote on the winner, and basically the winner will move up the bracket to the next challenger, and by the end of season 1, we will have a season 1 grand champion of Draw Fight. Also, we have a show called Cheers to Indie. If you are a local Houston artist and you want to sit down and have a beer with us, or sit down and have a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero with us, absolutely, we'd love to have a beverage with you, either at one of the local breweries in town, and we just talk about your project. We talk about life. We talk about what you're trying to push, and we just really want to share your artistry with the world. For Comic Indie, my name is Kenneth Javier, and thank you for listening to Comic Indie Podcast.
Comic Indie Podcast theme song.
It's a podcast for comic books. What else would you expect?